Dr. Goher, how old were you when you first came to Baba?
I came to live permanently with Baba since 1947. I first came to him in 1944, soon after my graduation as a medical doctor. But then Baba sent me back after 3 months to gain more experience in the hospitals. So after 3 years he called me again, and since 47 June I've lived permanently with Baba.
So you've been living with Baba for quite a few years now. And have you attended to Baba's personally as someone that would give him vitamins or pills or whatever he might need?
Yes. Yes, I have attended. Before me, Dr. Neelu and Dr. Donkin used to attend to Baba and to the Mandali. And when I came, I used to attend to the men Mandali as well as to the women Mandali during their illnesses. And I would take the help of Dr. Donkin and Dr. Neelu. They were my seniors. And in the beginning when I came, I thought Baba, being God, would never have any physical illness. And gradually I learned that Baba as the avatar has to take on the suffering like any ordinary human being. But the intensity of his suffering is more acute than any ordinary human being because he suffers for the whole humanity. And we close ones, the men and the women Mandali, throughout the years we've seen Baba suffer all the time. See, when Baba was giving darshan programs, or when Baba was doing his mast work, or Baba was quite a different self then.
Some of these darshans that Baba gave seem to be very. He seemed to be very ill before some of the darshans, like in 1962. But yet he gave the darshan and he looked very, very bright and brilliant at that time.
Yes, that was always the case. Baba, just before the darshan program or any other work that he had to do, his universal work was always there. But some special work like going to seclusion or doing fast or giving mass darshan programs or the poor program, Baba would suddenly become very seriously ill. And he'd expect us doctors to do our best to treat him, to give him proper treatment. And we would try to do our best, to collect all sorts of medicines, and Baba would take these medicines. But we've noticed several times, on several occasions, that when actually the darshan time came, Baba would suddenly be his radiant self, radiant and he would be in full glory. And he would look so beautiful, and I mean, there was no sign of any illness there. Baba did not, I mean, to the people who came, to the Baba lovers who came, they never had any idea that Baba was ill. And sometimes when we used to send out circulars that Baba was not well, and when Baba lovers came and saw Baba, I mean, they just thought that we were exaggerating, and we were sort of, trying to telling lies so that, you see, the people wouldn't come and disturb Baba. But once these programs came, and even after the program, then Baba would be completely well. As if there was no illness at all.
Baba ordinarily, I understand, didn't like to take any drugs of any kind.
No.
Is that true?
No, Baba did not like to take drugs. And Baba did not like any checkups on him. And Baba did not like us to consult outside doctors. Right up till 1963, we could not consult any outside doctors. It was only after lots of persuasion and coaxing, Baba would agree. And when the doctors came, Baba would make us look like fools because, in front of those doctors, Baba, when they came, they could never find anything wrong with Baba. So they'd just look us up and down and say, what is it that you've called us for? Because Baba would suddenly look quite all right to them.
So then you just realized that Baba really didn't want to go to outside doctors at all. He just wanted.
No, he just did not want to go to the outside doctors. You see, we used to say, Baba, we'll be responsible if anything happens to you. The whole Baba world will tell us, what did you do for Baba? Why didn't you give him proper treatment or whatever it is? We said they will sort of hold us responsible for if anything. And just to please us, as compassionate as Baba was, just to please us, he'd agree to have an outside doctor. Don was an orthopedic surgeon, but during Baba's second accident, he had consulted a doctor from the military hospital, an orthopedic surgeon, Colonel Chatterjee, and Don would take his advice. Colonel Chatterjee himself would come and treat Baba. And sometimes Baba would be in severe pain, and he would not be able to even move his leg. And I'd send SOS messages to Don and ask him to call Colonel Chatterjee at once, that Baba was in severe pain and agony. And then when Colonel Chatterjee came, Baba would look so cheerful. He would sit up in bed. He would try to stand up and show that his leg is not at all hurting. Baba could even show him that he was able to stand without pain. And so Colonel Chatterjee would sort of look at me and say, well, madam, what's wrong with you? He does not have any pain, and why do you exaggerate the symptoms? Well, I couldn't say anything. So that's what happened when outside doctors would come.
In one accident, Baba had his hip crushed.
I said that, didn't I?
You ready? In that accident where Baba had his hip crushed, did you see the X-rays of how Baba's hip was crushed?
Yes, we saw the X-rays. Several X-rays were taken, and the socket, the acetabulum, the socket, it was the socket which was broken, not the hip bone, what do you call it, the femur. First, there was a doubt that the neck of the femur must have broken, but it was really the socket that was broken at several places. And
when you saw this X-ray, did you think that Baba would be able to walk after seeing that X-ray like that at that time? when you first saw the X-ray?
Don't remember that exactly. Because, you see, Baba, taking Baba as God, we knew that Baba had to do his work, and so, although the X-ray apparently looked that in the X-ray it seemed that Baba will not be able to walk, in my heart of hearts I knew that Baba would walk because he had to do his work.
After being a doctor to Baba for so many years, what is it sort of like to, from the human point of view of, being Baba's doctor and just realizing...
You see, I can't put it into proper English. What I want to say is that how, Baba would, he was working all the time, doing his universal work. And for his work, he suffered, and how he took on these illnesses. But these illnesses, looked so acute and so serious to us. But then when his, when the real time for his real work came in, all these illnesses suddenly miraculously disappeared. You couldn't. That is the main thing I want to impress, because Baba physically suffered. Baba was in agony all the time, and
could you give us a little bit of some of the illnesses that Baba passed through in his life, different kinds of illnesses? Because I understand he had so many variety of illnesses that it was sort of amazing when I first heard.
Baba's main complaints throughout the years was, heartburn, and he suffered from chronic indigestion. But this came on because of the several fasts. He would continuously keep fasts so many times in a year, so many for days on and months on. And his eating habits were so irregular because of his seclusion work or must work. During his must tours and travels, Baba would eat any type of food, and somehow his stomach was atrophied, and due to that his indigestion was impaired. And that was a constant, that was a sort of a continuous suffering to Baba. Besides that, he had so many other illnesses, like during New Life, when Baba was walking once, and he developed severe, huge blisters on the sole of his feet. In spite of that, Baba kept on walking. Then when Mehra and we all persuaded him, then he would allow us to apply Vaseline to his feet at night. And in spite of that, any ordinary man would not have been able to put his foot on the floor or be able to walk. But in spite of the blisters, Baba walked. And then Mehra made, out of soft woolen socks, she put some felt pads underneath in the sole of the socks so that he would be able to walk more comfortably.
Yes, what were some of the other illnesses that Baba passed through?
That was very late that it was discovered in 1963, that is when I say when Baba had very severe pain in his abdomen, and it was a renal colic, and even then Baba would not, that was in Guru Prasad once, and Baba would not permit us. But then after, when the Mandali and Meher and we all begged of Baba to go, because we were in Pune then, we could have a good physician to consult, so Baba agreed, and then it was that we consulted Dr. Grant for the first time, who took x-rays and several blood tests, and then it was discovered that Baba had, small stones in the kidneys.
What about, did Baba ever have any illness with his eyes?
Baba had a sort of a gritty sensation all the time in his eyelids.
Gritty?
Gritty sensation. He used to feel sort of something is like a grit, you see, that is hurting his eyes. And once some ophthalmic surgeon prescribed penicillin ointment, which when it was applied gave us a very severe allergic reaction, due to which Baba's eyes were bloodshot and inflamed and was discharging lots of pus, and Baba was in severe pain, very restless for several days because of this eye condition. And it was a torture for us to watch him in so much pain.
What would ordinarily cause like an eye illness like that?
It was due to, it was an allergic condition, allergic reaction due to the use of penicillin ointment.
What about stomach trouble? Baba have stomach trouble?
Yes, stomach trouble was there all the time. It was throughout the years that I was there with Baba. And as I said, he had atrophic gastritis. That means his stomach, the lining of his stomach had atrophied because he did not permit his stomach, the juices of his stomach to act on his food, because there was no food. So many times during the year, Baba was fasting either on water or only on fruit juice or only on weak tea. So naturally his stomach contents, the lining of his stomach was not as it should be, and there was constant, continuous sort of indigestion, and Baba was very uncomfortable. But he did not show this.
What about, did he ever have ear trouble? Anything with his ears?
No, that was only when Baba had herpes, and because of the nerve supplying there, that his ear was affected, and Baba used to get very severe pain. He would say that it's like a screwing pain in the ear, and due to that took a long time. It was several weeks before that pain subsided, and no treatment seemed to be of any avail, because Baba, day in and day out, Baba was suffering with that severe pain.
I know you have some notes here.
And that's on, the notes are on a general lines, just to say that, you see, like, just to explain of Baba's suffering, that like when I first came to Baba, I, like many other people who do not know about perfect masters or avatar, assume that Baba as the avatar. I can't see
was that he was beyond.
And being the personification of perfection, was beyond being affected by ill health or the usual things that affect any human being. Baba then explained that perfect masters assume illness, whilst he being the avatar must undergo all the physical pain and discomfort and illnesses which the ordinary human being has to undergo. Still keeps on taking on. So through the years, because of the strenuous must work and many fasts that Baba undertook, his digestion was seriously affected, and we treated him accordingly. But naturally, when the damage was done, and treatment could only be palliative and not a cure, there were times when Baba let the illness run its course. But at other times, due to particular work, one would find the ailment suddenly and miraculously disappear. And Baba would be his radiant self. This we have seen happen on so many occasions. But Baba had to take on this suffering. After the second accident, and as time came closer, Baba seemed to take on more bindings on himself, visible and invisible, and we were so helpless. As Baba would often say, this is the load he alone could carry. So as Baba's doctors, we tried our best to alleviate some of Baba's pain and suffering. I want to correct a few statements that Dr. Grant has made. When he says, Dr. Grant visited Baba on 30th January, and we were worried about the spasms that Baba was getting. So we consulted Dr. Grant. But when Dr. Grant came to see Baba, Baba did not get any spasms. Baba was in a good mood and talked to Dr. Grant. And it was actually the respiratory muscles that were affected when Baba dropped his body. It was the respiration that stopped, and Baba's pulse and heart were working, and we tried to bring on the respiration by artificial means. The rest of the details are given in Dr. Bharucha's book of the last Sahvas, because he took from us all the details then. Stop it now.
See, it's all the spasms.
ए मनी तू बोलने आवी ने तू पेलू शू पेदा रे बोलने बैसे ने जरा मैंने आवर तो नहीं बोलता.
You were present when Baba had.
Yes, I was present. All the men Mandali were present, women Mandali were present. I mean, we all were there, sir. I mean, Sarah.
So you saw the spasms of Baba, and
yes, Baba was getting these spasms in several days, and we were all there.
His blood pressure was
trying to really.
His blood pressure was very high.
No, Baba's blood pressure was not so high. It was moderate, I should say, not very high.
What about his uranium? urine.
The blood urea was high, but Baba did not show any symptoms pertaining to blood uremia. Because one doctor, he thought that we were sort of emotional. And being emotional with all these signs, he thought Baba would have the symptoms of uremia. And but there was no smell of urea in his breath, not in his perspiration. And I mean, it did not show the symptoms of uremia at all. In spite of that, Baba had these spasms, and we couldn't account for these spasms. It is this.
Did he say anything more about dropping his body?
No. No, you see, in fact, I mean, this was not explained because Baba was talking of the great darshan all the time. Baba was telling us that he would be completely all right, and he suggested that if he was not able to sit up, he'll give his darshan reclining. And he asked Francis, would it be all right if he gave his darshan reclining? And our minds were so concentrated that Baba would be completely all right for the great darshan, that we did not have the least inkling of his dropping the body. Even right till the last, we did not know. And even then we thought that Baba would come back to us.
Is Baba very susceptible to colds, catching cold?
Yes, Baba did not like cold winds, and yes, he was susceptible to colds.
I understand Baba had like very sensitive skin.
Yes, he had a very sensitive. He could not. Iodine. He was very allergic to iodine or any strong, and he'd never allow us to rub any liniment on him because he did not like it.
And that when he would go on these tremendous must tours through all kinds of weather.
At that time, I was not there, but the Mandali will be able to give you a better picture of that because they were there. But during must works, Baba withstood all the hardships. Nobody, there's nothing. They did not, even his delicate skin did not come in his way. Where must work was concerned, as Baba would say, my work comes first, and he would neglect his body.
Even in Meherabad, no, just now. Even in Meherabad, in the very early days when Baba was working with the Remastering boys and bathing the poor and all. But in the winter time, it used to be so cold in those days, and it's a dry cold in Meherabad. And his hands would get so chapped, badly chapped, they would sometimes be found, bleeding when hands are very... But Baba didn't take care, he wouldn't allow them to take care of his body. In those early days when Baba's body was young in age, and he took on so much on himself, fasts, such long fasts of such long periods. And as I said, when it was so cold, my doctor says how Baba never took care of his beautiful complexion skin. Some people think they have no idea of the fairness of his skin, but he was very fair complexioned, but fair, not that whitish fairness. He had a beautiful complexion, beautiful skin. But as Goher says, things like iodine and liniment and mustard oil and things like that, when that was applied, you could see that his skin was delicate, tender.
yet when he would wash the...
Oh yes, and when he would wash the
lepers,
masks and the lepers and in the heat and the cold, he used to go out in the sun.